From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and Akashvani, this is Stumped.
Hello, Happy New Year. I'm Alison Mitchell and welcome to Stumped. I'm joined by Jim Maxwell from the ABC in Sydney, and for Akashvani, Chari Sharma is with us from Bangalore. Now, back in September, we spoke to 18-year-old Tommy Lamb, who was travelling from England to Australia to watch the Ashes without using an aeroplane. Now, his journey has been far from straightforward. He was hospitalised at one point in Vietnam and had to deal with floods and bus breakdowns at other points en route as well. But I'm delighted to say he did make it to Melbourne in time to witness England winning the Boxing Day Test. And he is with us now. Tommy, welcome back to Stumped. I hear that a plane was involved eventually. Tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, unfortunately it was. Well, first of all, thank you for having me back on. I got as far as it was possible for me to go. I ended up getting to Timor-Leste without a plane, and I took the shortest possible flight to get to Australia. It was a 45-minute plane from Timor-Leste to Darwin in the end, and then I hitchhiked my way from Darwin to Melbourne in the end. So I'd like to think that making that a bit more of a challenge for myself might have made up for the flight a bit.
We'll let you off, Tommy. We'll let you off because it was an extraordinary feat and adventure. But what about this time in hospital? I mean, this was a serious motorbike accident that we read about and saw you on Instagram. Just what happened in Vietnam?
I don't actually remember. I don't remember any of the actual accident. I was riding the motorbike. I mean, it's quite funny to me that, all the places I've been to, I did the most typical British tourist thing of going on a motorbike, having never ridden one before in my life. Rode it for about an hour, okay. And then I crashed it, fractured my skull, broke my nose, and had a few other bits of skin hanging off. And thankfully, all the Vietnamese people were incredibly helpful. They got me into an ambulance, paid for by themselves at the time. And they were incredibly helpful. It kept me in hospital for 5 days in a hotel, and then I was back on the road. So thankfully it wasn't anything too serious in the end.
What a worry though for your family back home, and didn't you just want to leave and get back at that stage?
Well, my mum was definitely a bit terrified. I made the good decision of calling my dad first and making him break the news to her, because I knew that her reaction might be a bit more shocked anyway. She was quite tempted to fly out and help me out and everything like that. But no, I mean, as soon as I found out it wasn't a brain injury or anything like that, I was just quite grateful, to be honest, that I knew that I could continue the journey. And I just sort of viewed it as another part of the challenge. I knew that if I kept going, I'd just look back at it as I say, just another part of the challenge. And yeah, not my highlight of the trip, don't get me wrong, but I was grateful that I could keep going and that it wasn't anything too serious.
Well, you know what they say, it's not the destination, it's the journey. And what a journey, because it was 125 days. And was that worth it to finally witness England winning a test in Australia after some 15 years?
It would have been worth it no matter what the result. But no, to make it to Melbourne and watch us win our first game in 15 years down under, my first ever game down under, watching England play, no, it's absolutely worth it. And as you say, a lot of it was about the journey, not just the destination. So it was great fun.
Lucky charm. Did you manage then, Tommy, to play cricket in every country you went through? That was another aim of yours, wasn't it?
I did, yes. As far as I remember, every single country that I spent a night in. To be fair, there was a couple of countries I went through on a bus where we literally didn't stop in the country. I think in Europe, there was one or two. So other than that, I played in every other country.
Nice to see you moving all right. Doesn't sound like it was a lot of fun being tipped off your bike and the rest of it. So was that a satisfactory experience to get to Melbourne in time, even though it was just a 2-day test? Did that bother you that you didn't get perhaps your money's worth?
I think England could have somehow won that test before lunch on day one, and I would have walked out a very happy man. Don't get me wrong, it's test cricket. You want it to last a bit longer. You want there to be a bit more battle between bat and ball. But as somebody that's been backing Bazball from the start through thick and thin, to watch us win it in that fashion, even if it is in 2 days on that sort of wicket, no, I'm more than happy with that, even if it is only for two days of cricket.
Did you mix with the Barmy Army?
Oh, I did. My ticket wasn't actually with the Barmy Army, but I found a couple of lads, and someone, for some unknown reason, there were 2 tickets. 2 people didn't come to day 1 and 2. Maybe they were late and they were only going to turn up for day 3, but I ended up sitting next to these couple of lads right in Bay 13 with the Barmy Army, and that was great fun, that first Jerusalem on day 1. That was awesome.
So you've told us a little bit about a setback or two. What was the most challenging aspect other than being wounded on your bike?
No, I mean, look, before the journey, I definitely would have thought that all the long journeys would have been by far the most challenging part. And don't get me wrong, there were times where it would get quite long and it would sort of, yeah, it would become a bit of a challenge in and of itself, but you get quite used to it. And no, I mean, I must say, I think there were just aspects of missing home and not even, I mean, as much as I miss my family and stuff, of course, just that simpleness of being at home and having nothing to do and no sort of worries. I miss that at times, but at the same time, I've never been able to live in the moment as much as I have done for the last 4 months because when you don't know what you're doing the next day, you quite literally do have to just live in that moment. You have to figure out what you're doing next, never mind what you're doing in 2 or 3 days' time. And so all of those sort of aspects I loved. And as much as there were, downsides and there were obviously the motorbike accident being the main one, I must say there was no more sort of any more challenges than there would be at home, just living your day-to-day life sort of thing.
Tommy, congratulations. You make me wish I was there with you on the journey. It must have been fabulous. But we've talked about setbacks and challenges, and I know you might have several. But what would be the biggest highlight in terms of a memory of those 125 days?
I mean, the two places that I really enjoyed were Iran and Pakistan. They were, especially because Iran was sort of, I'd come from Europe, come from a lot of sort of like a very different world to going into Iran. And there was one night in particular where I had to go with a guide and I had a travel agency doing everything for me. And I asked them, we were going to a village where everyone lives in a cave. And I asked them, could I spend the night camping in a cave instead of sort of any hotel? And I ended up doing that, ended up camping in a cave. And just the hospitality that I received that night, my guide let me go off by myself for an hour or two and just met some incredible people, ended the night in a cave with wild dogs howling outside. And it was everything that other people have weird, very different dreams. And this is a weird dream to have, but just that entire day is what I've watched other content creators and stuff doing for years and years as I've grown up. And to actually be there and be there experiencing that myself was just an absolute dream come true. And that just continued on throughout my rest of the time in Iran and then in Pakistan and even, of course, in Southeast Asia. Incredible people everywhere.
You just wanted to go back to 10,000 BC, Tommy. But if you started something, you can't stop now in that. Are you going to do this again, you think, somewhere soonish?
Yeah, I mean, this form of travel in particular, I love where I just don't really plan too much in advance. So even like in April, I've got a mate getting married in India, plan to go there, watch the IPL with my dad for a bit, go to the wedding, and then I just want to travel for myself for a bit, go around India, maybe Bangladesh, Sri Lanka a bit as well. And then looking really sort of a bit further into the future, the big trip I'd love to do would be going from Alaska to Argentina without a plane. That would sort of take some saving up and give myself quite a lot of time to do it. But I speak some Spanish, so I think South America would be quite fun. And then when I'm a real professional, the real challenge will come when I try to get to a series in South Africa without a plane and get through the entirety of Africa without one. But I think I'm still a bit too young and inexperienced for that at the moment.
Shades of Ewan McGregor there, but he did it on a motorbike, and maybe we shouldn't recommend that to you at this stage. I mean, I was going to ask, I mean, how much actual planning did go into it, and how much were you winging it, at the time?
So I planned, I think the first 3 days, 4 days, I planned how I was going to get out of England, get out of the Netherlands. And then ever since then, I've sort of been planning it by the day. I think as soon as, especially once I got out of Europe, I planned sort of first week or so, I was just getting buses every day. And then ever since then, I just sort of turn up to a city, turn up to a place. I wouldn't necessarily even have my accommodation booked that night. I'd just see what happened. And one thing that really I used as a luxury was I had a sleeping bag and sleeping mat. And that to me just meant that no matter what happens, I'll be okay. I can sleep anywhere, sleep outside, sleep in someone's house, whatever. And so I didn't bother planning very much. I just sort of turn up where I am next. I'd book my transport out of there, maybe for the next day, maybe 2 nights if I'm going to be giving myself a bit of a treat. And just keep on moving slowly but surely and into random places.
And so what's your accommodation now you're in Australia? Has that gone up a little notch?
Oh, it's incredible. It's incredible. Compared to what I've had. No, my parents have with a parents' holiday. I mean, we're at the minute we're driving through from Melbourne, Sydney for the New Year's test, and we're staying in some motels and stuff like that. And my parents sort of go like, "Oh, this is sorry, sorry, Rick, I've got a brother here. Sorry, you two are like it's not so nice." And I'm thinking, my goodness, this is absolute luxury. We've been given a towel. There's soap in the toilets. There's toilet paper. It's incredible. Roof over my head. I'll take anything like that.
And you've obviously been making content all throughout this on social media. Is there any thought to write any of it down? Were you keeping diaries? Might we see a book or anything?
Yeah, I took Sherry's advice, and I'm not so my handwriting's so terrible, so I've definitely not been keeping a proper diary. But my dad also agreed that I need to start making voice recordings. So I started a bit late, but I'm up to I think Pakistan now. I'm just about getting to China, and I've recorded everything that happened up to there, and no, it's already a 2 or 3 hours worth of voice recording. So I've got quite a lot of details, and that's not even including the crash and everything since then. So no, hopefully I'll have quite a bit of spare time when I go back, and I'll be able to write a book in the next year or two. And I'd love to do something like that.
Oh, well done, Tommy. Well, we better ask you before you finish, though, what your levels of optimism are and what you felt amongst England fans as to whether England can close out this men's Ashes 3-2, maybe with another win in Sydney.
Well, I'm definitely hoping we're feeling quite confident. I'm very interested what the wicket's going to be playing like in a few days' time. I'm always optimistic. I'm always going to back the boys. I've been waiting for a Zach Crawley double hundred at the MCG for the last 4 months, so maybe he'll be able to provide something for me in Sydney. But no, I'll keep backing the boys. I've got full faith, and if we do lose 3-2, that is still Stuart Broad will still be right that this is the best England side in 15 years and the worst Aussie side in 15 years.
That comment has certainly followed him around Australia. Tommy, great to hear your story. Thanks for sharing it with us. Tommy Lamb, who spent 125 days travelling to the Ashes. Well, that's all we've got time for on Stumped for this week. So my thanks to Jim Maxwell, to Cherry Sharma, and to all of you. And we'll see you again next week. Until then, bye-bye.